they are one of the pioneers for the gaming industry. They don't make much money. So the top 3 players in Japan over their lifetime have made about $100,000 each, whereas China, Korea, America, Sweden, their top 100 players have all made over $100,000 each. So there's a big discrepancy with the amount of earnings that a player in Japan can make. In Japan, they have a company called Detonation Focus Me. It's their only esports organization, and they only have one team of salaried players, where the rest of the players are just part-time, and they have to get other work to make a living in order to compete. And there's a handful of major things holding back Japanese esports. Like the companies, the game developers in Japan don't find esports a legitimate like venture. Like Nintendo is one of the biggest names in video games, and they have games such as Pokemon and Super Smash Brothers, which have a very very strong following in the competitive scene. But Nintendo has gone out to say that they only consider Smash Brothers a casual game, and that they will not back it with a league or with like annual competitions. They only do occasional competitions, such as at E3 or major promotional events, or whenever they come out with a new game. So they don't really give much prize support to Smash Brothers players. But Nintendo, they own the Pokemon Company, which has historically been very strong with other types of games, such as the Pokemon card game. Has for 20 years been one of the most popular competitive card games, other than Magic and poker. So they have the resources to do so, they just choose not to follow esports. And then there's Capcom, because Capcom's flagship game is Street Fighter, and Japan is known internationally as the best Street Fighter players, and all the top Japanese the Japanese players that earn the most money all play Street Fighter or any version of Street Fighter, really. And Capcom can't really they had a reputation of not pursuing the competitive scene, but it's not really their fault because of the Japanese gambling laws. You can't go to an arcade and compete Street Fighter for money, only in physical prizes. So there's no, like, they can't make a living off of playing Street Fighter at arcades to get ready for tournaments and to travel and all that, or pay for their travels. So that's a big deal. And then also, yeah, in Japan, their esports scene is completely dominated by fighting games, which don't garner enough viewership for a lot of the sponsors to feel like it's worth the money. Whereas all the top games are like League of Legends, all versions of Warcraft and Starcraft, pretty much anything by the company Blizzard or Valve are the top games that people actually watch. So as a Street Fighter player, you don't really get viewership, so you can't get sponsors to advertise you and promote you, because a lot of the players, the prize pool money isn't enough to make a living, so they